you love to play. Oh, you love to play. Don't your comments won't relay. Sign this on my page for you. Oh my God, he changed. Young life, I can't see back karma. I just need some brains so I could keep myself in order.
He got problems, she got problems, only I got 411 problems. Hey, hi, what's up, y'all? It's time for another story time. Yes, a celebrity came in our office, baby. At this particular time, I am working pediatrics. I'm working pediatrics. And mind you, like, I've seen different celebrities. Or I've seen kids of celebrities, if that makes sense. And like we're instructed to, keep calm, be cool, chill out type situation. I've met real cool people in the neurology practice as well. I've met 2 celebrities in the neurology practice. I got a picture with one. Don't be jealous. Anyway, so yeah, so we're we're at work, and the child's name, because I was the insurance verification specialist is what they call it, basically verifying insurance the day before. The only time that would be real hectic is with Medicaid, because on the 30th you have to verify on the 1st, because the 30th you could be covered on the 30th, but on the 1st you could not be because you didn't renew, or something was wrong as far as you don't qualify anymore, you make so much money, etc., etc. So we would have to verify the Medicaid patients, which was the majority of the patients in this practice. Was the majority? It was kind of like 50-50. It was more Medicaid and private, commercial. It was kind of 50-50. But the Medicaid patients, we would definitely have to, like, when it was the 1st, it was like, oh my God, it was a scramble, because you had to verify those patients that day, that morning. So most of the time I had to come in like a little early. So I'm looking at the insurance, and I'm like, what's this? And I had never seen it. So it was called SAG something or other. It was something that I haven't seen. So I had to call, like, to get information to find out, like, what is this? And they also had Medicaid. And so I was like, what is this? So I'm trying to figure out the insurance, because I was like, I've never seen this insurance before. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm listening to, like, the specialists, and they're going against the Medicaid, and they was like, well, no, the Medicaid needs to be first before our insurance. Like, we're the secondary, but she had it listed that it was primary. And I was like, okay, well, she have it listed like y'all are the primary. Y'all were primary. So the lady was like, no, we're secondary, so you need to call her Medicaid. So when I call her Medicaid, I'm looking at her Medicaid is not active. I was like, well, her Medicaid is not active. I said, so maybe that's why she listed you as primary. And so they was like, they're showing here that she has Medicaid. And I was like, no, like, I can fax over showing that it's not active. And so pushed it over showing, like, that it wasn't active. And they was like, what is the patient coming for? And I was like, well, it's a new patient. So they're getting basically like a well child check. And well child checks are not, they're free, but they're free through Medicaid. Through commercial, it depends on your insurance and your insurance plan. So I was like, oh, they're getting a well child check. And so they was like, we don't cover well child. We only cover sick visits in ER, emergency room. So I was like, okay. So I called the number on file and nobody's answering. I left a message saying, hey, your Medicaid is showing not active and your primary SAG something. We're just going to call it SAG. Your SAG insurance is saying they don't cover well child checks. So when you come in, either you're going to have to give us another form of insurance or update your Medicaid, or you're going to pay out of pocket. Left a message. Didn't say nothing. Like, the person never called back, never said nothing, right? So I'm like, I'm waiting. So I'm sitting like cause the way my desk like was set up, where our desk, cause it was one long desk, right? So I'm sitting in the corner like this, and my computer is like really here, and I'm kind of like in the cut like this, and I'm the insurance specialist. Then you go over a little bit, and that is check in, and then you go over a little bit, and that was check out, right? So check in. Like, the girl is looking, and she was like, how you doing? Don't I know you? And so I can hear the voice, and the lady was like, no. And so she was like, is there any way like I can go into a private room? And so the girl that was doing check-in was like, we gonna call her check-in. So check-in was like, we don't have a private room, unfortunately. I'm so sorry, we don't have a private room for you to sit in. And so she said again, she was like, don't I know you? And she was like, no. She was like, is there any way like in the waiting area that I can sit? Because, I just, like, my child is sick, and I want to keep my child away from the other children. So she was like, well, we have a well side and we have a sick side, which we did. So if your child is sick, you sit on the sick side. And so she was like, y'all don't have a room, like you don't have a private room? She said, unfortunately, no, ma'am, we don't have a private room. She said, don't I know you? No. So she checks her, and so she was like, look at here. She's like, oh, do you have another form of insurance? And so she was like, I have insurance. My insurance is active. And so she was like, well, looking here, like, your Medicaid is not active, the number that we have. And then your other insurance is saying that they don't cover a well child. So do you have another insurance, or you're going to have to pay out of pocket? And so she was like, hold on. So she went to sit down, and like you can hear her on the phone trying to get stuff together. And so she came and she was like, is there any way like I can talk to your manager, because he has Medicaid. He has Medicaid. Like, they just haven't sent over the new number yet. And so check-in was like, hold on. So she got the manager, and so she went to the manager, and so the manager, she was like, hi man, don't I know you? And so she was like, no. And so she was like, oh, okay. She was like, well, how can I help you? And so she was like, is there a room that I can sit in privately? She was like, as a matter of fact, I need to come back and discuss, what it is, right? She was like, I need to discuss what's going on. She was like, because they won't let my child be seen. Now, girl. So check-in was like, whoa, we're just letting you, like, the number that we have is not active as far as your Medicaid, and your primary said they don't cover well child. So the manager was like, oh. And so she was like, well, I wanted to discuss that privately. So the manager was like, we need some form of either you're going to pay on your way out, you're going to have to pay out of pocket, or we need the Medicaid number, the new Medicaid number, before you go back. She was like, if you can just call them and have them fax it over, like, that'll help us a lot. If we can just verify it, and then we'll just add it in your chart. And so the manager was like, don't I know? She was like, you look familiar. She was like, no. So she asked the manager again. She was like, you sure there's not a room, like a private room I can sit in, while I wait? She said, no, ma'am. She said, but you can call, because we're gonna need that number. You're saying he has Medicaid. So she was like, okay, fine. So she went to sit down. So the manager walks away from the check-in desk, and like she's standing in, like, it's an area, like an opening where you can walk into, but she's standing in the opening, and you can't see outside of the window, because we had it where it was windows up, so it was like the cloud, y'all know, like the clouded looking mirrors where you can't see through it. So she whispering to check-in, she was like, that's her, right? That's her. And so check-in was like, yeah, that's her. So at the time, this celebrity is on a reality show. On this reality show, you are living in this big house. You have multiple cars, and you are expressing that you have all this money. What you doing with Medicaid? Why your Medicaid not active? What's going on here? The math not mathing. Because what you putting out on TV is not adding up to what we seeing right now. Anyway, so the manager goes back and you tell the nurses, like, oh, girl out there waiting. Like, she waiting to be seen. So she came back to the manager, came back to the window, and she was like, you know, did you start calling? And she was like, ma'am. She came up to the window, and so she was like, can you really, you know, you sure there's no room or nothing? Like, I don't want people to recognize who I am. Y'all, the office wasn't even packed, number one. Number two, we recognize who you are, but nobody is really making a big deal out of it. The only person who's making a big deal out of it is you. Anyway, so the manager was like, unfortunately, there's no room for you to go in. So she was like, but ma'am, there's really nobody out here. She was like, so it was literally like 2 people on the well side, and you said that your child was sick, so go to the sick side. Right, and so she was like, and you're scheduled for a well child check. So she was like, is the child sick or is it a well visit? Because if it's a well visit, Medicaid will cover that, but your insurance is saying that they won't. She said, but if it's a sick visit, your insurance says that they will. So is the child sick or is this a well child check? And so she was like, oh no, he's sick. So I called the primary back and I said, okay, mom is in office. She's saying that the child is sick, not a well child. So she was like, what are the symptoms? So I was like, hold on. So I was like, check in, ask her what's the symptoms, because her insurance is asking. And so she was like, stuffy nose, fever, you know, etc. Like, she started running down. So I'm telling the lady, like, stuffy nose, fever, etc., etc. And so she was like, And I started laughing to myself. And so she was like, oh, okay. So she was like, well, tell her the copay is $30. And it's only an office visit. It's not a well child. It's an office visit. It's a sick office visit. I was like, okay, I'll let her know. So I was like, let her know she got a copay of $30. And I was like, they'll cover this. It's not a well child. It's only a sick office visit. They won't cover nothing else. So she was like, okay, ma'am, it's the $30 copay. You did not have the $30 copay. On the reality show, you are rich. Big house. Multiple cars. Flaunting money. You ain't got $30. You ain't got $30. You too broke to give me $30. You don't have $30 for your copay? Well, maybe you felt like Medicaid was going to cover it because you said Medicaid had a number, like they didn't give you the regular number. So maybe, Medicaid was going to cover it. Like, this was normally your secondary, not your primary. Because according to them, your Medicaid was supposed to be your primary, but your Medicaid is not active. So she was like, we have to have the $30 before you go back and see the doctor. That was policy. Copays need to be paid before you go see the doctor. So the doctors, because it was multiple doctors. It was 2 doctors and a PA. So she was like, okay. Let me do the Medicaid thing because the Medicaid should cover it. So you calling Medicaid and you sitting waiting in the waiting area. So now stuff has gotten around in the back office that you sitting in the waiting room. So now billing comes up because it was only one lady that did billing. So she's coming up. So she's coming and she was like, man, I heard you need assistance as far as like your Medicaid stuff. Like you came out to check to see and confirm that that's who we was talking about. So you played it off like, hey, I heard you need assistance. They don't have your Medicaid. We don't have the right Medicaid number. Is there any way like I can help you? Like I get on the phone. You can tell me like your caseworker with county, etc., trying to help her. Basically trying to get in her business too, though. Then the PA comes around and you come look. The doctors come around, they come look. It's like, interesting, right? So the nurses come around because we had 2 nurses because we had 2 doctors. Well, 3. We had 3 nurses because we had 2 doctors and a PA. and each person had their own nurse, medical assistant rather. So we're like, everybody, like, of course, like, the buzz is not in the front with the people, because there's barely anybody out there. The buzz is with us, and we're laughing to ourselves because you're trying to make this big scene, like, I don't want to be seen, and nobody's in the front office, and then we're not even making a big deal either, because nobody is asking you for nothing except your Medicaid except your Medicaid number. So she worked something out with billing, because they still was able, like, they was like, okay, ma'am, you can come on back, because they called you back. So you go back in the back and you go see the doctor. So when you leave, you ask not to come back up the front. Like, you ask to have checkout come back there and check out in the room so you can leave in the back. But the doctor was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you can check out back here, that way you can just walk straight out, I guess. She was like, but to go out the back, like, you're gonna have to walk all the way around, and if your baby is sick, that doesn't make sense, because to get to your car, the walk around is long, and you with a baby, that don't make sense. And so she was like, oh, okay, yeah, I understand. Doctor telling us after she left, right? So she comes and she's walking straight through, because you asked, can check out come in the back to check you out so you could just walk out. So you walk out, like, you trying to cover your face or whatever, but we already know who you are, man. So when you walk out, like, we all, because it's close to lunchtime, so the office it wasn't really a busy day, to be totally honest. So we all looking, and we look out the window, because, like, it was two big windows in, out in the waiting area. We looking out the windows, and you in a raggedy minivan. So one of the MAs was like, that ain't the van that's on the reality show. And I was like, oh, so we all know, like, who this is, right? She was like, that ain't the van that ain't the truck that you be riding around on the reality show. And I was like, right. And I was like, I don't even watch the reality show. I caught like 1 or 2 episodes, and I was like, I turned, because her attitude is nasty, and her mama attitude is nasty too. And I was like, it's a no for me. So I didn't watch the show no more. That show ain't even on no more. I think they had 1 or 2 seasons. But anyway, it was like the stuff that they was portraying on the show was definitely not the lifestyle that you was living. Interesting. So when the doctor came up, of course, like, we listening. We was like, what's she like? What's she like? What she's like in there? So the doctor was like, she was trying to play it off. And so the doctor was like, I was like, don't I know you? And so she was like, no. And so she was like, she, was examining the baby. And she was like, the baby didn't have no sniffles, no fever, no nothing. So you really was coming in for a well-child check, but your Medicaid was jacked up for that baby. Your Medicaid was jacked up for that baby. So you, like, had to get stuff that I think billing ended up helping her out. And then end up switching the insurance, because she ended up finding out, like, doing some digging, and then getting the right Medicaid number. So her Medicaid was primary, and it was a different number. It's just you just didn't have your paperwork and stuff together before your baby's appointment. But the doctor was like, she kept, alluding to the fact that, no, you don't know me, because the doctor kept saying, like, don't I know you? Like, you look familiar. She was like, no, you don't know me. No. Anyway, so she had a little nasty attitude. So the same nasty attitude and the entitlement that you see on TV and when she talking and on her social media, yes, baby, that is exactly how she is. That is her. That is her personality. Even though you are majorly talented, your attitude is nasty. And so you wanted this big time celebrity treatment presence in real life, baby. You was just like the rest of us. And I'm gonna reveal who that celebrity is. I love you the most, because you're definitely the dopest in real life. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Side note, Good Sis can sing her ass off. It's just your attitude is nasty. Girl. I'm not saying it clearly that coat you got down there is golden because you keep spitting out the kids. But sis, change your attitude. Like, I witnessed that in real life and in person. Whoa. I even watched when you was going back and forth with MC Shaky. I love MC Shaky. I miss him. I can't wait for him to come back to the internet, honey. But I remember y'all was going back and forth, honey. I was watching that live when you call that man a monkey. Change your attitude, girl. Change your attitude.